Did you know the tea about his shoes? Or
No.
they shared a picture of his shoes on Instagram.
Wow.
Because they took a picture of them.
Why does he wear those?
Apparently, they're very comfortable. I have no idea why. But I actually have a friend. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But he used to wear them all the time, too. And he was like, he would swear by them. They were the most comfortable shoes he ever wore. And it always looked weird to me. I don't want to wear gloves on my feet.
Yeah, that looked good. I didn't know what to make of it.
What's going on, friends? We're just chit-chatting in our little pre-show gimmick while we wait for NXT to wrap up. I'm going to be joined tonight by Josiah MacDonald and Phil Lindsay. We're going to be talking about NWA Power. Once again, we're going to give it a few minutes. Please excuse me for being silent for that first minute and a half. I don't know if anyone had planned on joining us over on Facebook, but we seem to be having some connection issues through StreamYard. So if you know a friend who might be otherwise tuning in on Facebook, please let them know that they can still join us on YouTube and twitch.tv/love wrestling, of course. But excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. What was the topic of conversation here? Are we still on Alvarez's shoes?
I guess I just was so put off by them when I saw them in person. I was like, what are those? What are you wearing?
You should clip this and tag Alvarez in it, and he'll definitely retweet it.
Yeah, I was very confused because, I mean, like I said, I was standing next to him in the media scrum, and I turned around and I was like, oh, it's Dave. And I was like, oh, it's Alvarez. And I'm just standing there. And for some reason, like I said, I looked down at my shoes and I looked and I was like, wait, what what is this? And I was looking around like Sean Ross Sapp was like across from me, and I was trying to get his attention to see if he saw it too. Like, what is this?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. He's been lambasted on social media and on the board on the website several times for them, and he just keeps saying you're all going to regret this if you try them. That's all he keeps saying.
Nah, I don't think I'm gonna try those.
I don't think so either.
Nah, I'm not a feet guy in general, so I mean, when you just look, and I mean, that sounded real cringe now that I think about it. Like, erase that from your memories, guys. But when you just think of people like bare feet, it's like, it's something about it. It's like, I don't know. So when you see somebody out and like their toes are separated, it just looks weird.
We promise there will be wrestling talk eventually, but for now, we are enjoying. I'm sorry, I'm losing it a little over here.
Alvarez's shoes.
I don't know, man. It just completely threw me off, man. Like, I was trying to stand there and think of a question too, and it just completely threw me off. Like, I almost raised my hand and went, "Hey, Tony Khan, so what do you think of Alvarez's shoes?"
You should have asked him that. That would have been hilarious.
I have to imagine Tony Khan might have popped for that.
He would have answered it. I bet.
I guarantee you, he's seen them on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he's probably. He would probably have a comment.
Phil, you have eyes on the NXT main event. How they doing?
It's going. It's a pretty good match.
Okay.
It's definitely going over. It started late, and it is over.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Yeah, let's not spoil it for anyone who happens to be joining us in the pre-show. Of course, the NXT spilling the tea with NXT will take place immediately after Powerrrout. But with that, I suppose that's a good time for us to end the pre-show gimmick and hop onto the show proper. Phil, Josiah, I'll catch you guys after the intro.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, power is over. But that does not mean for one instant of a second that the fun is over. Without a doubt, you are here because the power is out. So stick around, because it's Power Out. Yeah, it's Power Out.
What's going on, friends? This is Zach Ralph here, kicking off the Love Wrestling Tuesday night double feature. We're, of course, as always, kicking things off with Power Out, your NWA reaction. Immediately following this broadcast, you don't even have to leave the stream. Spilling the tea with NXTea will be joining you right after we wrap up our NWA reaction. And as you can see, I got a pair of guests joining me today. I'm thrilled to be welcoming them both. First, from the Wrestling Observer and former Quizplex champion, who will, of course, be joining us this Thursday for the Champions edition of Quizplex, Josiah MacDonald. How you doing, friend?
I am doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for being part of the show tonight. And, of course, we are also welcoming from the Bleacher Report and more recently announced as a host of Fightful's new program, Grapsity, Phil Lindsay. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Tell us all about Grapsity if you have a moment to give us the pitch.
The pitch is me and Reg so far. We're gonna announce the third co-host tomorrow. And we are talking to Graps, man. Talking wrestling. Hopefully gonna get some guests eventually, but we just felt strongly that there needed to be, more representation on that side of wrestling media. And that's not to say that there aren't already guys doing it, but it's so few of us. So it just felt like, the right move to do it with Reg and, the co-host who shall be announced.
That is awesome. I said this to you on Twitter as well. Like the show just caught my attention when the moment that they announced you as host. So this is a great move by all of you, and I think it's a great new program coming from Fightful. So yeah. As mentioned, this is part one of our double feature. NXTea will be happening immediately after Power Out. But we got a pretty solid episode of NWA to react to. At least I felt pretty strongly about it. And as usual, we're just going to run through the card and talk about what we liked and what we didn't like. So with that, pardon me, the show kicks off with Tim Storm at the booth. He's with Strictly Business. Things get really hot quickly here because Tim is just questioning their recent motives on attacking Trevor Murdoch, attacking Melina, and it eventually leads to Strictly Business really just getting in his face. Tim Storm has enough of it. He storms the ring. He calls them all out, and he has Joe Galley tries to save him. Velvet Sky tries to intervene as well, but Tim Storm has an unlikely savior in Nick Aldis coming to his aid and telling all of Strictly Business to back off. What did you think, Phil? Let's start with you.
I liked the Mexican standoff that they had like around the ring. I thought that was cool. After a while I was sitting there like, okay, where is this going? Because they were standing there for a long time, but I did like it.
Yeah, I felt that too. Like the tension was good. Maybe it was just like a beat or two too long. Josiah,
I thought it was really good too. Tim Storm is the best babyface. He's just so great in that role, and him firing up and ready to take on all challengers. Doesn't matter if he's going to get beat or anything like that. That's a guy like you can really get behind, and so he was the perfect guy to do this with. And to have Nick Aldis, knowing their history, come out and say this is not the time or place for this. Yeah, that's pretty significant in a shift, and I think they're moving Aldis more and more along towards that full babyface turn, and maybe even teasing a split between them and Strictly Business. But I don't know. I liked it. I like the tension there. Of course, they could also just do the Horseman beatdown, and Tim Storm could be like Sting. Always trusting that. Always trusting Ric Flair when he shouldn't, and just the turn happens. So.
there's just continuous turns by Nick Aldis on Tim Storm for the remainder of their NWA tenure. I could have time for that. Yeah, aside from like the length of the actual stare down, like I guess I really liked the segment. I really did. My only issue is kind of like the past couple of weeks on NWA, they keep talking about how Nick Aldis is going to be taking time away from the ring, and sure enough, he is. But like, you know, he's still popping up every week, and like, don't get me wrong, when he's showing up, it's been great TV. He's had he had a great interview face to face with Trevor Murdoch. This was a very intriguing segment in its own right. But if you're going to tell me he's not going to be around for a while, you know, the proof is in the pudding. He's pretty much there every week so far. But yeah, that's that segment. We move on to another another segment from the podium. Melina is on the mic. She is standing up to Camille, you know, figuratively, because Camille is not actually there. She's talking about how Camille is like not really a champion's champion. She's not standing up for the future. And before she can really elaborate on that, Chelsea Green, the hot mess, comes out and saying that she's done more than Melina and she's the one who deserves to be champion. I'm not watching a lot of Impact Wrestling lately, but like I'm getting a sense of dissonance. Like, you know, she's the hot mess on NWA and she's being the more straightforward Chelsea Green on Impact. Phil, I know you follow both. Do you have any kind of like, what's that experience like watching her on two different programs?
Well, I'm guessing they're just taped at different times, right? Because they're still doing all the shows from St. Louis. So maybe they haven't caught up to, you know, that point, and maybe she'll be doing a hot mess on Impact once they catch up. I don't know. It is kind of weird though. I did think it was funny that she's still carrying around a cup. And I mean, I just thought the whole segment was funny once she jumped in. Just Melina standing back there confused by the whole thing and the face she was making. I thought that was all really funny.
I mean, the hot mess is just like a great character, and Chelsea Green does great with it. It was funny when she was on camera, but then they cut to Joe Galley and Velvet, and you can just hear her still screaming off in the background.
In the background.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, I popped for that. Josiah, what'd you think of this?
Well, I do have a question about Melina's character, as I can never tell if she's a babyface or a heel. Although I think she's pretty much a babyface right now, but she came out with Chris Adonis a few weeks ago. What happened to that?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
It just seems, I don't know what they're trying to do there. But with that said, they're clearly going to build to a match between her and Camille at some point, which I kind of worry about, because Melina's strongest point is not in the ring. She's a very good talker, but she's not necessarily the best in the ring. With that said, she did have a really great match at the pay-per-view. So I can't deny that. And if she can work to that level, she'll be fine with Camille. But Chelsea Green's great. I like Chelsea Green a lot. I like the hot mess character. It's very amusing, and it works for her. As for the lack of continuity between that and Impact and even Ring of Honor, because she's doing Ring of Honor as well, I don't really see that as much of a big deal. It's just different companies doing different things, and that's kind of where I see that. But I thought the segment was fine. I really did enjoy her still screaming at all the fans about how she should be champion as they were trying to go to a different segment. That was funny.
That yeah, as Phil mentioned, that prop makes like such a like great little carry on for her, and like she's just knocking it out of the park with the character itself.
It helps that the trophy is basically as big as her. So.
I'm almost reminded of like Crash Holly taking out the super heavyweight
scale
over his shoulder. Yeah, you know what? Like, it's kind of funny that of all three companies we just talked about, it's NWA that's doing the hot mess character. Like, you would almost imagine it would be Impact going for the hot mess, especially as she has roots there. So, you know, I have to commend NWA for doing a big character like that. But we move on. We got the first match of the evening. It's a tag team tournament quarterfinal match between JTG and Colby Carino versus Hawks Airy. Starts off very sportsmanlike with when JTG is in the ring, especially he's in the ring with Luke Hawks. But once Colby gets in the ring, things get a little more aggressive, informing their ongoing rivalry. Finish comes with Hawks Airy hitting this really nice almost nice backdrop into a power slam. It's a cool idea on paper, but maybe didn't go as well as they wanted it to go. But still picks up the 3 count. Josiah, start with you. What do you think of this one?
So that for the finish, I wrote it was like kind of like a flapjack into a power slam that they tried, but poor PJ Hawks got caught up in the legs of Colby Carino and tripped over his own father and just basically fell on his own head. But somehow Luke Hawks still caught the guy and hit a power slam. So it was botched, but it still worked, which I don't really understand. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It was the JTG and Carino team, I figured, had to be eliminated pretty quickly because there's no way those two were going to get along. And that's kind of just where I left it at that. I think it's best that they left it at that, I should say. And yeah, it wasn't bad. It was a perfectly fine opening match.
Yeah, like the match itself, like, was pretty solid. Like, funny enough, I feel like if it didn't have the rivalry that was backing it, like, it would almost have more substance. Maybe I'm not going to articulate this properly, so excuse me. But, like, it's a tournament match between tag teams, and I felt like the ongoing rivalry between Colby and PJ kind of distracted from that. If this was a finals match, then maybe that's like a little more substance to it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
I agree.
Phil,
I agree.
Yeah. Phil, what did you take from this match?
It was a solid match. The finish was a little bit clumsy, but it worked. It wasn't a bad finish. It just was kind of like, okay.
Oops.
Yeah. I mean, just like Josiah said, I expected JTG to lose here because, this is like a Frankenstein tag team. I didn't think they were going to make it far.
Yeah, like the whole tournament was more or less riddled with a few of these, as you say, Frankenstein teams. Let me ask you about, correct me if I'm wrong, but Steve Carino is still working, right? Like, he's still he's still wrestling?
He had what he called his last match against Colby recently.
Okay.
But he's still working for WWE. He got their permission to do it.
Oh, okay. I forgot that he was part of WWE. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate because I feel like this whole Carino versus Hawks stuff could really benefit by bringing in Steve Carino and doing like father-son versus father-son tag team match.
That would be awesome.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love JTG, but I love Colby Carino, but like them as a team does not really continue that rivalry with Hawks Airy. Anyway.
And Steve Carino has a connection with the NWA anyways, being a former champion. So
yeah. I mean, we can reference the Forbidden Door just about every single week, and hopefully maybe the WWE will finally like open it up a little crack so Steve Carino can go to a little NWA. Well, we can dream. We move on to a promo with Scion, the Masked Man. He's putting over the television championship, and I think he does a really great job here. He's saying he's dangerous because he has no support, he has no family. All he has is like the desire to succeed in the NWA, and he's coming for the television championship, and he's going to take it on December 4th. What I really liked here is NWA has had this problem with their past pay-per-views as they announce their whole card at once, like 2 weeks before the event. We finally got like a piecemeal. We're starting to see the card early. We're months away from hard times, yet we already have a sense of at least one match that's going to happen. Phil, what do you take from this?
I really liked this promo. I really liked his delivery on it. I think the parts where he was like, you want to go home? We know you want to go home, so I'm going to send you home. Just fantastic stuff.
He's becoming a very intriguing character, I must say. Josiah.
He reminded me a lot of the assassin, Jody Hamilton, here. I don't know if you've ever seen his promos. That was very similar to what he would do. It was a very intense kind of just with the microphone, the cameras focused right in on his face. If you want to go watch some good promos, go watch Assassin promos against Dusty Rhodes. But yeah, that was basically very because obviously Tyrus is a heel.
Sorry, I think we missed a part of you there, or maybe I lagged out.
Oh,
Just for like 5 seconds before you mentioned Tyrus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a babyface right now, I guess. Scion, although he was kind of a heel at first, but I think they're moving him into that babyface position, I suppose, if he's going to be opposing Tyrus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked the promo. I thought it was good. Very old school promo. Good delivery. He has a good voice for it. I have no idea who he is, and I refuse to look it up because I don't want to know.
Good on you for maintaining the secret for yourself. We do follow it up though. That promo with the follow up from the champion himself and his entourage got Austin Idol and the crew considering the threat of Scion cashing in the #1 contendership for the TV title. They threatened to embarrass Scion, defeat him beyond a 3 count, and most notably they talk about they threatened to take the mask away along with the identity. Phil, what do you think of this?
This I didn't know what to make of this. I mean, Austin was great. Austin's always great. I mean, I feel like he's, if you have any kind of experience watching wrestling, there's nostalgia vibe with him being on TV. And but it just seems like this is just a hodgepodge of guys all in the same segment. It's like, okay. And so there were points of it where somebody else was talking and Tyrus would just be looking off into the distance. Like it looked like he wasn't even paying attention. It's like, okay. And then he started his promo with, I've been accused of a lot of things. And I was like,
yeah. Really going down that way?
Yeah, it was awkward.
So many poorly chosen words in that sentence.
Yeah.
I got to agree with that. Josiah, the rest of the segment, your own opinion on the matter.
I hate to say it. Outside of that, I actually like the segment, although Tyrus is horrible. I still actually like the segment because he made it clear, him and his whole group still made it clear that it was like, we're going to defend the TV title, and if you come for us, we're going to mess with you and take your mask. I thought, okay, that's a good heel promo, good heel segment. But it does seem to be a weird, disconnected hodgepodge group of people. Like, why is Jordan Clearwater suddenly working for Black G's? Why is Black G's suddenly working with Tyrus when they weren't working together a few weeks ago, but they sort of were and they sort of weren't? It's just, there seems to be a disconnect in the storytelling there.
I agree 100%. Yes, ticket cameo as per every edition of Powerrrout. I apologize, gentlemen. This was like the first time we also saw like this. They called the identity of the masked man into question. Tyrus mentioned that he feels like he knows him, but he can't place him from where. But he's certain the masked man knows who Tyrus is, stuff like that. And they are, like we said, they're talking about taking the mask away. Now, again, Josiah, I won't spoil it for you. But like, it's not going to be like a big reveal and it's going to be like, oh, it's, Brian Kendrick, or someone like that. It's a respectable talent. Someone who's he's been on things like AEW Dark in recent months, but it's not going to be a big reveal where they take off the mask and you're like, whoa. So yeah, maybe it's probably going to be, left at the wayside. Like they're going to be threatening to take the mask, but I don't think it'll actually be removed. Now he's knocking over my phone. That's cool. I'm just going to leave him there before he causes more damage. We're going to have words about this after. Let's move on to the next match. I apologize once again. We got Genocide taking on Allison Kay. Oh, my camera's frozen. I'm going to fix that after I just go through what happens in the match. If Genocide picks up the win, then she and Paola Blaze are going to get a shot at the tag team titles. This is after Marty Bell defeated Paola Blaze. Both women came out without their respective affiliations. No Taryn Terrell, no Marty Bell, etc. Genocide finds the early advantage by driving Allison Kay's arm into the post. Remainder of the match, Genocide works the arm. Kay finds offense, but she's still limited by working with only one arm. Finish comes with Kay hitting a big power bomb off the top rope, but a distraction by Lady Frost allows Genocide to roll up Kay for the win. I really like this match. It was very straightforward, unlike Paula Blaze and Marty Bell a few weeks ago. Like, there was very overbooked. There was a lot of action on the outside, but this one, aside from the end, was very straightforward, and I really liked what I saw. Josiah, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent, simple match. There were some botches towards the end that Genocide just stood up and decided to choke slam the crap out of Allison Kay in response to them falling off the same page, which is fine. But sometimes that's all you need to do to get the crowd back, is if you mess something up, you go to the you just go to a big move, and it worked. I like the match. I think it would have been better with a few more minutes, but very straightforward, very simple match. Like, how I would put it is average at best, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if every show I watched was average at best for every match, I'd be a very happy person.
Yeah, I agree. And I had the same note about the length. If this had like a few more minutes, maybe borrowed from the tag team match earlier in the card, I think that would have been a benefit to the pace of the entire show. Phil, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was a pretty good match. It had everything you wanted out of these two having a match together. I think using that finish possibly means we could get a rematch at some point. I'm not sure what they're doing with the Lady Frost stuff. I'm not sure what to make of it. It could end up leading to something interesting, but I'm just not sure what to make of it right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, this match made sense. Like, it was everything was logical, but I really hope they stick the landing. And Lady, I keep almost wanting to call her Emma Frost. I apologize. That's my X-Men fandom kind of seeping in. But yeah, as long as this Lady Frost swerve or connection to whoever or rivalry with whoever makes sense, then I'm okay with the match. It's not going to ruin the match itself retrospectively for me. But yeah, let's just hope they pay that off.
She's a really good worker, Lady Frost. I enjoyed her matches. I don't think they've really figured out what they want her to be yet. And I have to say, too, I think the NWA does rely on interference in matches a little too much for my tastes. Yeah. But I'm interested to see where that goes, because this is a tag team feud. So how is she going to factor into it? Yeah.
Like, can she bring in like someone to be part of the tag team scene? There's certainly some loose threads that kind of need to be tied off for this to really be a concise package, but we can hope. We move on to the La Rebellion. They're cutting a promo. They don't care who wins the tournament, be it Hawks Aerie or the End, because either way, they're the ones who are going to win. And when they win, they're going to take the titles to Mexico, and they'll defend against anyone, be it from NWA, AAA, AEW, whoever. Now, guys, I'm a little lost here, because the opening match, like, I rewound the video tonight just to make sure I didn't hear it wrong. That was a quarter final.
That's what they said.
So there should be like semifinals, then final, or like, I'm a little lost.
That confused me in my recap, although I actually didn't note it. I should have. They mentioned semifinals there, like they were going to face them, and so I thought it was like a semifinal match. And it was going to be them versus the End in the finals.
Yeah, that's the language that La Rebellion uses anyway.
Which I'm making me wonder if they accidentally spoiled the ending of their tournament of where it was going, because and we haven't seen brackets either, as far as I know.
No,
is it really that hard just to throw a graphic on screen and tell us who's in the tournament? And that makes things a lot easier for a fan to follow. And it's ending up being kind of confusing, like the Champions Series was, which me and you have talked about privately, Zach. And I still have a comment about that later on, because there's still something that we're still finding out more about what the Champions Series was after it was over.
Yeah,
we should have known it before it. And anyways, but yeah, that seems to be a little bit of a continuity issue that they need to hopefully tie together. Maybe it was just a mistake. But to me, it sounds like and don't get me wrong, I like the promo. I really like La Rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're great. I actually think they were a really good choice for the next tag team champions. And I liked the shout out of other promotions, but that whole semifinal versus quarterfinals thing, which they said at the start of the show. But then again, they also called the show at the start of the show Power Surge when it was NWA Power. So
yeah.
They are, I mean, I can think of several times during the Champion Series where they accidentally spoiled the results of future matches, or they incorrectly recorded previous matches. And I really hope that's not the case. Maybe like the end versus Hawks Erie is going to be referred to as a semifinal. Then whoever's fighting La Rebellion is the final of the tournament. But I don't know. Phil, the promo itself and the tournament at large, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the promo was good. I really enjoyed the promo. As for like the tournament stuff, they continue to make these things way more confusing and convoluted than they need to be. The championship series was just, I just don't know how you follow that.
Didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, this is just a straightforward tournament, so I don't know. I'm just assuming maybe somebody just misspoke. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I really hope that's the case. I hope it's like that was moving into the semifinals, or they'll again call the championship match itself like the finals of the tournament. Whatever the case may be, man, I hope it's I hope nothing has been spoiled is all.
A cat just interfered here.
Oh, okay. So cats are coming down on your end as well. Excellent. As long as it's not just me.
Cat's episode.
All you see is his eyes, like at the bottom of my screen, pop up.
Phil, do you have a pet who's going to be pulling a run in at any point?
I don't, man. Nobody's interfering for me. I'm going to lose this triple threat match, apparently.
Don't worry. I think Ticket is on anyone's side but my own. So I think you still have a shot. Next match of the evening, we got Josiah versus James Storm. James Storm starts off the match looking excited and having fun until Josiah really shuts it down. Match gets physical. Both ignore the official, and the match gets thrown out. Storm shoves the referee. This is the same referee that he had issues with at the pay-per-view. The fight continues between Josiah and James Storm until Josiah retreats. Yeah, Phil, Josiah, what are your thoughts on Mr. Excitement himself?
Oh man, this is just another one where it's like interference again. It's like, okay, I mean, it was a fun match until then, but it was like, okay, the finish it just didn't do anything for me.
It didn't do a lot for either, and it's not like this rivalry is one that people are chomping at the bit for. Josiah.
So I'm not going to mince words. I think Josiah sucks.
Okay.
I think he's horrible. I mean, it from the very moment when they introduced him in the Battle Royal and they confused him for Mil Muertes, the announcers did, because they were talking about him working in Lucha Underground and stuff like that, and I'm like, you're thinking of Judas Macias, who is Mil Muertes, who worked in TNA. You're not thinking of Red Shirt Security Gunner. Or whoever it was, whatever he was.
Murphy.
Gunners
on Raw.
Gunners Jackson Riker.
Unfortunately.
He has a whole slew of other problems.
That's another podcast.
Murphy. Sorry, damn it, I did it again. He's not very good. The Sinister Minister is great.
Yeah.
He's always been great. He's been great for over 20 years. And James Storm is awesome. And I like James Storm's energy. And then Josiah started throwing punches that looked horrible. He needs to stop throwing them. He needs to throw forearms or something. But And then they just started throwing punches in the corner, and the match was over after 2 minutes. It was like, okay, you're trying to add some heat to this feud here, but I don't think anyone really wants this feud. I don't give them. I'm not going to give them any flack for trying. They brought this guy in at pay-per-view. This was taped the next day. It was a long set of tapings. You got to try with a guy you bring in, but I think unless they can find a way for this guy to be interesting, they're going to have a lot of trouble with him. He's not. I'm sure there's a role for him somewhere on the roster. Even the worst of workers can find a role somewhere, but yeah, not for me.
I feel like his role was like the agent to bring in Father James Mitchell. And like, again, James Mitchell is a guy who brings a lot of value to your show. But like the pairing with Murphy, with Josiah is just like, it feels very shoehorned. Phil, like, if I'm not mistaken, were you at NWA 73?
I was not.
Oh, okay. My apologies. I've just been so curious on what the environment was in the arena when Josiah came out, because as a television experience,
complete silence.
Complete silence. I was just like, I shared the experience with a lot of people on Twitter. Everyone going through trying to figure out and solve this. Who is Josiah?
Who is this
mystery guy? And it ended up being, Murphy. Well, with that, we move on to the main event. We got triple threat tag team action, a bit of a mixed bag of teams. You got the experienced team of the End. You've got a new team in Crimson and Jeremiah Plunkett. And you got Trevor Murdoch, NWA champion, teaming alongside one of the number one contenders from the Champion Series, the Pope. Murdoch looks good early on, but he hurts his leg with a crossbody, tags in Pope for the remainder of the match. Otherwise, from here, it's pretty much a physical sprint all the way to the end, with Pope hitting the Elijah Express and picking up the win. Now, the big story on this one, Josiah, I think this is what you're referring to when you were talking about the Champion Series and like how the ghost of this tournament thing continues to haunt us. Jax Dane runs out and he tries to cash in his number one contendership as if it's a Money in the Bank briefcase. That's of course negated when Crimson just levels them and the match is kind of thrown out. But I don't really know if there's much to say about the match, and I'll of course please take the time to do so if you'd like. But Phil, the Champion Series, now it's a Money in the Bank situation with all these people who have number one contenderships, apparently. I invite you to try to make sense of it first, please.
I was so very confused by that. I didn't understand. If you could just cash in, correct me if I'm wrong, Pope is one of the number one contenders, right? Why would he tag with the champion then if he could just cash in on him at any time? It just doesn't make sense.
I thought that might have been interesting too. If like after Jax Dane gets carried out by the refs, Pope just like, you know what, boom, Elijah Express rolls him up. That could have been something.
Maybe it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I didn't remember that stipulation ever being a part of the tournament. But again, as we said earlier, the championship series was, a cluster. It was just nonsense. So yeah, I didn't know what to make of it. This was a pretty average match. I mean, it was fine, but just all of the after stuff, I was like, okay, what's happening here? What's going on?
We got a comment from Twitch. Mighty Vin, the heat level on this feud is at a turn up. 0 spice. Accurate.
0.
I'm not even sure if you're talking about Jax Dane and Trevor Murdoch or Jax Dane and Crimson. There's a couple options that I think this particular comment applies to. But Josiah, please, you make some sense of this.
I presume that was for Judas and James Storm.
We'll yes, see. Of course.
But yes, as for the Champion Series, so this is from memory of everything that confused me about it. And if I remember this many things confusing me about your tournament, I don't know if I've ever watched a tournament that had the right results that was so badly executed. So the first thing was we had the dates at the start of the tournament completely messed up on television. They give us 3 separate dates. and then they got confused because one of them was like the hype picking at the teams, and that was considered the start. And then the other date was actually when the matches started, and we had no idea what was what. 2, we had no idea how long this tournament was running. 3, the point system was convoluted, and it was like, just do what the G1 does: 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss. Easy. But I didn't mind the team breakdowns. That's fine. That was all fine. And then by the time they announced which matches were what, and that was fine. That stuff was great. But then they announced partway through the tournament that the coaches on the winning team would get a title shot too. And then I asked the question, Austin Idol would get a title shot at 73 years old or whatever he is. He's in his 70s.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way he's going to wrestle a match. So that doesn't make any sense. And that was something like I think they added after they started filming. And you have to ask it that question. Why didn't you decide what this was going to be and who was getting what shots all beforehand? I don't know if my camera froze there. It looks like it did. But can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay. Anyways, then we have all that going on, and then the confusion around how the alternates worked, and eventually they ended up being the deciding part of the tournament. And then we go at post-tournament. It's a confusion. There was confusion about how the shots would be cashed in. So Pope is like doing promos about how he's going to cash in eventually. Like he's like, we're going to set a date and we're going to do it. Okay, cool. I thought that's what everyone had to do. And then tonight we find out it's like a Money in the Bank. Like I don't know. It's just the whole thing was a bit of a mess. And don't get me wrong, I think the guys that all ended up with the title shots are interesting opportunities. Like Jack Stane. I really like Jack Stane. I think he's a good heel. I think he's going to have a good feud with Trevor Murdoch, and they're going to have some fun mean guy matches where it'll just be wild brawls. That's going to be good. But the rest of it's just what? Like it's like the core of it is good, but the overall dressing is just all messed up.
Yeah, I think you described it perfectly. Like just an absolute mess. And like the more you try to explain it, the less sense it makes. I'm still waiting to hear because Genocide was part of that winning team as well. And she just had to fight her way to a tag team title match and really no sense of what's going on with her at the in the NWA Women's Championship match. But that is what it is. Gentlemen, we've got to wrap it up in just a few moments because the NXT team is waiting very patiently to react to tonight's NXT program. So final thoughts on the show itself. Phil, what did you think?
I thought it was a pretty good episode. It was a few too many, non-finishes or interferences for me, but I thought it was a pretty good show all around.
Yeah, pretty solid. Josiah? Oh, we lost him, unfortunately. Hello?
I think he's gone.
Oh, I'm afraid he's gone. Hopefully he can pop back in before we get through our plugs. But yeah, it was a pretty solid show. A couple little mishaps in missteps in booking and perhaps production. Hopefully not. Hopefully a tournament isn't spoiled for us. But yeah, that is what that is. Phil, let the audience know, please, where to follow you on social media.
You can follow me at PhilDeal616 on Twitter. If you're interested in the Grapsity Pod, you can follow us at Grapsity Pod on Twitter.
Excellent. And I'm afraid Josiah is missing our extra, so please be sure to follow him on Twitter at WR_Central and catch his work at the Wrestling Observer, often covering the NWA beat. You can also follow me, of course. You can follow Smarkmouth on Twitter. Oh, hold on. You'll hear it in his own words.
There we go.
You hear? Hey.
yes. My camera's dead for some reason, so I don't know why. But
I was just letting the audience know where to follow you on Twitter there.
Yes, at WR_Central, and you can read my stuff at WrestlingObserver.com/F4WOnline.com and DailyDDT.com. And if you want to read my NWA reviews, you can find them there every Tuesday night.
Perfect. Once again, Phil, Josiah, thank you for joining the show. You can follow me on Twitter at SmarkMouth, on Instagram at smark.mouth. And thanks for tuning in to tonight's Powerrrout. Hey, your camera's back just in time for the extra.
It's my hard cam there, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
got it back. I got it back.
Like randomly zoomed in. It was like, yes,
I got it back.
Definitely some like horror film cuts of you suddenly like right at the camera. But with that, thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight. After this short little extra video, you're going to be joined by Astrid, by Cody, and by Ed reacting to tonight's NXT, and myself, Phil, and Josiah. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be gone. So have a great evening, everyone.
Adios.
Cody is there. We go.
There we go. Let me try this again. What is going on, everybody? I am Cody here with Ed to my left, screen right, and beneath us we've got the wonderful natural Astrid. What is up, you guys? Ed, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. It was a fun episode tonight.
It was. What about you, Astrid? How do you enjoy it? How's things going?
Yeah, so far so good. I really enjoyed the episode. I was expecting the usual how it's been for 2.0 so far, but today was a little bit different for us.
Yeah, it was definitely a change of pace a little bit on their part, and I'm happy to be hopping in here, taking over for Ed for the week, giving you guys a little bit of a change of a pace. We're going to handle things a little bit differently than normal here. We're going to, instead of jumping right in from top to bottom of the show, we're going to go around the table here. We're going to talk about the things that really stood out to each of us on what we loved about the NXT 2.0 show tonight. If you're in the comments, if you're joining, you're watching us, love to see it. Zara, wonderful to have you in there. If you have anything in the comments that really stood out to you, definitely point it out, let us know, and we'll jump on that as well as the stuff that we want to talk about. We have ladies' night tonight. There was plenty of ladies' action, ladies' stuff going on. Cough, RK Athletics. Going to give you guys a quick shout out here. You guys are always amazing, taking care of us here at Love Wrestling. Always appreciate all of your support. Anybody who is looking for any kind of athletic support, training, any kind of athletic equipment, definitely check them out. All social medias at RK Athletics 1 on the Twitter, the Instagram, anywhere you can find them on social media. Let's jump right into it, though. Ladies' night. Lots of ladies' action. I'm going to throw it down to you first, Astrid. What stood out to you tonight?
I mean, if you guys know me, you guys know what stood out to me the most.
Let me guess. You're going to talk about the Joe Gacy interview, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
That was amazing. Top notch.
Damn, I was wrong.
We'll get there, Ed. We'll get there.
No, but it's, as always, I really love every part with Index and that honeymoon, and obviously that GIF you've probably seen on your Twitter timeline a gazillion times by now, because I've seen it so many times with the condo. But yeah, it's just everything with Dexter and everybody with the way it was incredible. I think it's one of those things that even after the show ended, I have seen more people talking about like every Index segment that we had tonight over anything after that show ended, which I'm glad though.
Ed, what did you think of the Index segment there?
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. Johnny Gargano is probably one of the funniest. Like, Johnny Gargano reminds me of Kurt Angle. During that Kurt Angle funny period where he wore the stupid hat and he, played on the little guitar and he was with Edge and Christian. Like, he is just the perfect fill-in for, like, a Kurt Angle in that respect, where he can do the serious, I have a blood feud and I'm going to hurt you. And then he can also do the silly stuff where Dexter basically had sex with his daughter and he walks out and gives him a weak thumbs up as he walks by, and Dexter holds all of the condoms up. I mean, it's absolute comedy gold. And Candice LeRae, by the way, was really good tonight. Like, I know she doesn't get the respect she deserves on some of these because of how good Johnny is, but the moment that she realized, like, hey, Johnny, what happens on beds? Like, and she looks down. Oh, just picture perfect acting.
Oh, just all of it. Like, the entire segments with Johnny and Candice and the Index stuff is just amazing. Parrish hopping in there. Johnny Gargano right now is hilarious, but in a few months he may be elite. Let's hope not. What would NXT 2.0 be if we don't have The Way and Johnny Gargano in here taking care of us from a comedy perfection standpoint? I mean, Johnny and Regal, Johnny and Dexter, Johnny and Candice, it's everywhere you put him. He can play the serious part against Tommaso. He can play the funny stuff right now in The Way. Johnny's just a perfectly well-rounded on-screen personality, and we would hate to see him gone. I loved it as well. If I had a shark fin, I definitely would have wore it on stream today. Just, give me some Jaws music and I'll come swimming in at you like that.
And Sexy Dexy. I can't forget about that one anytime soon either.
Sexy Dexy. Yep, absolutely. But that hotel security is questionable.
Very much.
Having worked in a hotel industry before, I don't think my housekeeping ever would have just unlocked a door for somebody in a hallway. Oh, shout out to Parrish again. That wrestle draft was an amazing show, you guys. I'm sad I couldn't be a part of it, but a stud would have drafted The Way, and they did early on, I believe.
If it's a faction, it went to Parrish. Let's be honest.
Moving on, we're going to jump to you next, Ed. What stood out in the show for you?
I mean, I'm going to continue to be a little bit of a homer here, but anything with Carmelo Hayes, like Astrid with Index, anything that Carmelo Hayes does is fantastic. In the last few weeks, we've seen him stand up to Tommaso Ciampa and say, I have this contract and that title is mine if I want it. He's gone up with Roderick Strong and been like, hey, just remember, this is mine and I can do whatever you want. And then now this week, we see him standing in the ring. Standing outside the ring with him and Trick, making a brand new tag team that I didn't know I needed to see in the tag team division.
Yeah,
Not to mention, you give me in that same segment, the grizzled young veterans. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to have to work on my grizzled young veterans there.
You got to work on your Zach Gibson. I might have to take my shoes off.
Yeah. But, I mean, MSK has been almost disappeared with the exception of the wedding. Since 2.0 started, we haven't seen MSK. Not necessarily a bad thing. Like, they're a fine tag team, and I still really enjoy them. But they've kind of disappeared because of everything that we've been doing. But they start the segment, really hot, talking about, how they're going to bring back the fighting championships that they talked about being when they first won the titles. And Parrish here ragging me on him taking all the factions and, taking of Carmelo Hayes. I had a co-general manager, so some of my decisions weren't all mine. I mean, I don't know if I would have taken Braun Breaker, the stud of the draft, in the 5th round like we did. But, I had a co-general manager, unlike Parrish, who could just go on whatever whim he wanted.
I mean, we could throw all that blame at your co-general manager, but I don't want us to be taken off air.
No.
Beards, so.
I'm not saying that he's to blame. I'm saying that we had to work as a team to make smart choices for the two of us, as opposed to just letting me be able to do what I want. Because I probably would have had a much worse draft if I didn't have Spencer helping me make sure that I take Braun Breaker and Becky Lynch.
It's very valid. Spencer Love is a very wonderful drafter. He made all of the right choices in that draft, and we'll give him a 2 thumbs up on his performance.
But no, back to this tag team segment. So it's great to see MSK again, and then and we were in the Slack chat, and we're like, we wonder who's going to come out. And I say I want it to be Grizzled Young Veterans, and Cody's like, I want JBBJ to come out here. And I'm like, and Astrid's like, I don't care. I just want to see somebody cool. I'm like, all right, cool. So we get Grizzled Young Veterans, which is what I wanted. We got somebody cool with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams making a new tag team. And then we got JBBJ. And it all breaks down, obviously. And next week, we're going to get a fantastic 8-man tag with the heels versus the faces. So we're going to get Grizzled Young Veterans, Mello and Trick versus JBBJ and MSK. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I dubbed them in our side chat before the show there, Trick Mello. I like it. I want it to stick. Can we make Trick Mello their official team name, please?
Oh, we can make it on this show.
Yeah, great.
Like we had the demented brunette and the Rosebuds, which unfortunately is now Toxic Attraction.
I mean, still a solid name. No, I agree on this. I think we all kind of agreed on this one when it happened, that we all really appreciated what we got out of this. It literally gave us, all 3 of us, what we wanted to see. Your pick, Ed, my pick, and we got something new and cool for Astrid. So all 4 of these teams look strong coming out of this. We said it when Trick debuted there with Mello, that he can talk the talk. We just want to see if he can walk the walk. And even tonight, that quick little blurb that he had going at Grizzled Young Veterans and MSK to begin with, and then the shot he took at JBBJ when they came out, basically calling them hillbilly boot scooting something or others. But the character work for Brooks Jensen there too, where he's like, you know what? I woke up saying I was gonna start swinging at the first person who looks at me wrong. I just figured out who that is. Like, great work by all 4 teams there. I would prefer if this was a 4-way tag match as opposed to the 8-man. I just find with 8-man, it doesn't often give a great opportunity for all 8 men to get their work in. But at the same time, NXT rarely lets us down in any sense. So putting all 8 of these guys in the ring in any sense is going to be fun. What do you think, Astrid? What stood out on this segment for you?
I really liked how Carmelo said that he is in the chocolate factory and that's his golden ticket. Because I like how he basically inserted himself into, first with Ciampa, now with the tag team division. So like giving us like, we don't know what route he's going yet, and teasing us the way he's teasing us so far, which I've been enjoying. So I'm like,
we're even forgetting, like, you guys have mentioned Ciampa, you've mentioned Roddy, you've mentioned the tag now today. Right off the bat, he had those encounters with Swerve and Santos as soon as he won the contract. So he's inserted himself in all 4 title divisions now and just running around being like, hey, look at this contract I got, guys. Don't forget, I could come for your title whenever I feel like.
The golden ticket now.
Yep. It's great for Mello.
It really is. And the guy's proving that he's like a numbers guy. Like he's proving that he's smart, because with all these guys, it always seems like, you know, you push the top champion and you're like, oh, you don't know when I'm going to cash in on you, but I'm going to cash in on you. I like how he's putting all the champions on notice, and he's like, not even the fans know where I'm headed with this. And with his talent, he could be in any one of those divisions and be a star.
But it's also not just the champions, right? He's going to the number 1 contenders. The guy's getting the title shots and being like, hey, if you win, remember, I still have this. Like, he went to Santos and kind of shoved it in his face, as opposed to going to Swerve. He went to Roddy before Roddy even won the title off Kushida and reminded him. He went to Ciampa right after he won it. Now he shows up and starts like questioning the Grizzled Young Veterans, like, hey, I know you guys think you deserve it, but I got this, as me and my boy can have it too. So it's a really, really cool way that they're going around with that. Anything else from you, Astrid, on that?
No, just like I like how he's like in everything, so we don't know how they're going with it. We don't know what route they're going to pick with them, which is the interesting part, which I can't wait to see that part. But I liked how we got a little bit of everything with the tag teams, and I'm like, I know you want that, for example, that 4-way or 4 corners, but I think it'll lead up to that, you know, 8-man tag is going to be just the beginning of this chapter for them.
Yeah, hopefully we go, I mean, you could do this multiple ways, right? You could split these down into multiple tag teams. You could go a Dusty tournament with it, or you could go into all 4 of them in one match fighting MSK for the titles. MSK are fighting champions, right? We could see them say, you know what? Basically pull a carrying cross and give me all of them.
Cody, what did you? I was just saying. What did you find?
Moving on from that, I think my favorite part of the night, what I really loved out of this, was what we got from the Cruiserweight Championship match between Grayson Waller and Roderick Strong. Another stud of a match by Roddy Strong. That guy is, ever since the Ilya match, really, when he came in with the Diamond Mine and really moved in from there. I mean, even the Bobby Fish match before that too. He's a stud in the ring. He's a workhorse. He's doing everything he can to put himself over, but he's making all of his opponents look strong in doing so. What do we got from Parrish there?
Parrish is just it's just me and Parrish going back and forth.
Okay. Parrish is just still selling his draft. I got it. But up to this point, everything Roddy's been working is with guys who are proven on some level too. We knew what Bobby Fish brought to the table. We knew what Dragunov brought to the table. Even Kushida. I mean, we haven't got to see the real Kushida in NXT, but if you've watched any of his New Japan stuff, Kushida's a stud as well. But Grayson Waller's an unknown, and I know I saw something that I hadn't realized today. I guess Grayson Waller has been on Survivor in Australia before. So he's used to the reality TV. He has personality. He has charisma. Prior to the match, we got that little talking segment, or the promo segment with him skydiving and riding big waves out on the ocean.
Do I have to keep putting these up?
No.
No. You and Parrish can have your side distraction. Grayson Waller with his adrenaline junkie, right? His looking for the next big hit, and that's why he did what he did, going after Roddy Strong. And the start of the match even is something you rarely see in something like this in NXT and in title matches, where I don't know if anybody was expecting Grayson Waller to come flying in from the back of the ring and take the fight right to Roddy, and he dominated a lot of the fight too. I mean, Roddy was still Roddy, but these guys went hard, they went fast, and the ending was kind of out of nowhere with Roddy just hitting that stiff knee as opposed to any kind of big finishing move there. Do you have any thoughts on this match, Astrid?
Yeah, I told you guys in the chat, it just reminded me of that Carmella and Adam Cole match, how it just we knew it was going to be good, but it exceeded our expectations when we saw it, and seeing it on screens differently from seeing it obviously in just the advertisement, and seeing how these young guys are coming in and just going with these vets in NXT and having these great matches and showcasing them, even though most of the vets are winning though, but they're showcasing this young talent so far, and they're giving us, everything like this. It's been so good. That match is probably one of my favorite matches tonight, to be honest.
Ed?
Yeah, Roderick Strong is probably one of the most technically capable wrestlers in all of WWE, let alone NXT 2.0. But this Diamond Mine faction is really making him a teacher and, a name maker kind of role. And I'm really excited to see him become the gatekeeper, because I think that's going to be his role going forward, is kind of gatekeeping a lot of the NXT talent here, between him and between Pete Dunne until he gets called up, and Tommaso Ciampa until he gets called up. But this match was fantastic. I had never, this was Grayson Waller's first singles match in NXT, and the kid tore the house down with Roderick Strong. This was my match of the night. Yeah. I enjoyed the tag segment a little bit better, but it was literally all of us arguing about who wants to talk about what, because we all had the same 3 segments in our mind as to things we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
What I'm excited to see is when these younger guys get the chance to kind of go against each other, and we start seeing some of that stuff develop, and we see if any of these guys are green or whatnot. As Parrish says here, he's excited to see how, the former Parker Boudreaux is going to be used in NXT 2.0. Little Brock is going to be used however they decide to. That's what I call him. He looks... look at the dude. He looks like a little Brock. But all of these young stars are really making a name for themselves, and they're showing out in such a great way. Even going back to the opening match of the night, while I still think both the girls are a little bit green, especially BFAB, they're really trying hard and they're putting on good matches. And everything we had tonight was entertaining. And there was a lot of young talent on this show. They're not going to lose a lot when they start making call-ups from this roster starting on Friday night. And we could see a good large percentage of this roster, veteran roster, go. And we're still going to have plenty of talent down there.
Yeah, I think they can afford to lose some of the veterans at this point. I don't think you want to take them all, because I think you want to keep some of those veterans down there to work with these young kids and keep growing and advancing them. The guys like your Ciampas, like your Strongs, that are right now just doing everything they can to put over the young guys, I think are doing great work and deserve to just stick around down there. I don't know that I see a future for guys like that on the main roster. So I would prefer them just being the gatekeepers and the guys helping the next generation along, as opposed to just going up and being lost in the shuffle as guys who are never going to hit the top, but not really going to bottom out either.
Yeah, but I think we should probably get ready to start saying goodbye to Pete Dunne.
Mm-hmm.
I think him signing that new contract is almost a signal that he's on his way out the door. Like Paris says, you need a very healthy mix of veterans and youngsters.
Yeah. I know we were talking about it earlier too, that we could see some surprises of guys or teams that maybe we don't think are ready to move up, or maybe we don't want to see move up, but are ready to move up, that could go on Friday. So the draft this weekend is going to be really interesting from an NXT fan perspective on who we're losing.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I mean, this women's division, tonight was the showcase for ladies' night, and love it or hate the commercial segment, because that got a lot of buzz on the internet, especially today, about how they wanted to sell the show. That being said, a women's match opened the show, a women's match main evented the show, and there was a women's match right near the draw segment at the top of at the hour break.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
You brought it up, so let's jump there next, Ed. The BFAB Electra match, because I had some thoughts on that one too when it first happened. I think both of these women looked really strong coming out of it, being able to take the shots that they did, the shots off the chair, the shots with the kendo sticks, a lot of the unique move that BFAB used on the table to Electra. Yeah, Parrish. I mean, somebody like Jeff Hardy at this point in his career, I know he has dreams of wanting to win the Universal title to finish his collection, but as from a fan standpoint, I would love to see him moving into more of a role to help these high flyers move on. But yeah, BFAB and Electra, what I picked up on in that match, BFAB's striking definitely needs work. She's throwing weak hits. She's not making contact at all, or making really weak contact sometimes. But her hold moves looked really strong. And Electra I found to be almost the opposite, that her strikes looked violent. Her strikes looked hard. They looked fast. But she takes a little bit more time getting into the hold moves. And I feel like the two of them working together, it almost exposes one's strength and weakness against the other. And I definitely would like to see them work around a little bit to get experience with other people to really try and flesh themselves out as characters. But if what we're heading to is a team versus team match between Legato and Hero, then I think giving them this no DQ match and letting us see how they work in a violent situation is exactly the right way to play into that further possible war games or whatever we get of a 4v4 between the teams. Astrid, what were your thoughts on that first ladies match?
Yeah, it was okay for me. At least it wasn't something that was spectacular like that. It was an okay opening. Obviously it could have been better, but I know these girls are learning, so it's nice to see them getting that experience on TV and learning how to work with each other and work on TV as well. Yeah, I liked how Electra moved during the match. That's the part that I enjoyed the most from her. And I know B5 is just starting, so I'm not really expecting too much from her. So I'm already she's doing okay for the experience that she has. I really am excited for them to gain that experience and to show us more, because I know that they could do a lot better than what they did tonight, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I wholeheartedly agree that these girls are fantastic. They talk the talk. They're learning how to walk the walk. You can look at BFAB wrestle and learn and just see that she's still learning and she's still getting it. What she's doing great that I've noticed is she's safe. She may not be in there doing the best of the graps, and she may not be a world-class beater right now. But what she is she's a safe worker, which we've seen some people come from NXT who continuously have issues being safe workers and get a push because of whom they are, what their body type, who they might be. You know what I'm saying? We know who we're talking about. We're talking about Nia Jax. Let's be honest. I'm gonna stop beating around the bush. We're talking about Nia Jax. She's an imposing figure with a story to tell. She's got a family name and connection that puts her in this business. But the thing that BFAB has over her right now is that at least she's a safe worker. I want to see her get better. She will get better. These two women are an integral part of Hit Row versus Legado right now. And this is one of the best feuds going on in NXT and possibly in WWE right now. It's been absolutely fantastic. I don't want it to end anytime soon because I could honestly watch these guys wrestle over and over and over again. Yeah, I mean, Parrish says it right here. Guys have HBK, Triple H, Regal, and Carino, but who do the girls really have? They need stronger mind. He's absolutely right.
Oh,
none of us drafted Nia Jax.
No,
we're all studs. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he's right. Like, they don't have a Tyson Kidd down there. They don't have a Fit Finlay who helped shape this current main roster women's edition. You have Tyson Kidd who's doing it now and doing a fantastic job. If you want to talk about how great the WWE women's division is right now, you have to give a nod to Tyson Kidd.
Yeah.
And I think he's helping out in NXT here and there, but they need a solid figure down there who understands women's wrestling. I'm hoping Beth Phoenix can start being that. Yeah, they have Sarah Del Rey, but I don't know if she's been around since the pandemic. I haven't.
Yeah, I think she's one of those.
Her in a while.
Yeah, I believe she was one of those that got furloughed, I believe, or something like that when the pandemic started, and I haven't seen anything from her ever since.
Yeah, I haven't seen or heard her name down in NXT in a while. While she is super talented and she helped develop a lot of the young talent that's in NXT.
I think Lita was down there for a while in the past too. I don't know if she's still involved or not, but I feel like Lita had a hand in at least the last couple generations coming out of NXT.
But like I said, I mean, the whole point of this is that Parrish is right. They have so many women's talent that they just need somebody to go down there and be a constant figure in these women's lives and get these girls, to the next stage because they've got the talent and they've got the willpower. Let's just see what happens.
Let me throw something out here. Natalia's been around for how many years now?
Would love to.
Natalia's not going very far on the main roster at this point in her career. She's there as the gatekeeper of the main roster, doing her thing. You got TJ Tyson Kidd running the women's division on the main roster. Why not bring Natty down and have her work with some of these ladies down in NXT in almost the same role as TJ, but she can also get in the ring and wrestle with them and help them in ring as well.
Yep, I was going to say, if we're not doing her, what about Tamina? Like, I know people make the jokes about Tamina. Tamina's a great in-ring talent.
Yeah,
she knows how to do the in-ring talent. Tamina would be fantastic down here.
Bring them both down. I mean, they just lost their WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Bring them down as a tag team to wrestle. Put them with Toxic Attraction. Put them with KC Squared. Put them with the Robert Stone brand. Let them work with. I mean, Frankie Monet's done a lot in her career as it is, but working with someone of Natalya and Tamina's stature and veteran status can only help anybody. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. To work with those ladies and learn from them would be a huge boost for any of these women coming up in the NXT scene.
I'm going to throw another name out there because we have the draft coming up and this woman's coming back, but I don't think that we necessarily need her on the main roster right away. What about Bayley? Bring Bayley in while she's recovering, while she's getting ready, and let her just sit here and teach these women while she does her rehab.
Yeah, why not?
Someone else who's still, I think, technically under contract and not doing anything, Paige.
Yeah,
Paige.
the list goes on and on of people they could do this with.
Because I mean, Paige did a lot of good with Sonya and Mandy on the main roster in that group. That I mean, even when you had Team PCB, when Charlotte and Becky came up and worked with Paige right off the bat, it was Paige who was the veteran leading them through. Paige, Natalya, Tamina, possibly Bayley if she goes down. I mean, Beth Phoenix is already down there. You've got so many strong veteran women on this roster that aren't doing a ton in the women's scene anyhow. Put them down there and let them teach the next generation. Asuka is a good choice as well, but I don't know that Asuka's English is good enough to be a great teacher. Astrid, let's jump to you. You haven't been saying much here. Thoughts on what we've been talking about? Maybe if you want to pick out and jump on another segment for us to go to here.
Let's see. Since we're already kind of in there, talking about the Toxic Attraction versus Io and Zoe match. To be honest, I was hoping Toxic Attraction would win this one. Ever since Io and Zoe won the titles, I've been praying for the time they lose it, to be honest. So every time the titles are on the line, I'm like, maybe this is the one. And then nothing happens. So I'm like, how is this possible? But yeah, there was one part that we were talking about in the chat, how I think you mentioned it more in detail than I did because I kind of missed it, when Gigi was like kind of like missing the spot. And then the other part that stood out to me was when Zoe was doing her move and they cut the camera and you couldn't even see what she did. And I'm like, all I saw was just like her falling on the floor. And I'm like, what happened? I have no idea. I missed that part. But yeah, I was hoping that Io and Zoe would lose this one. I'm just like, what's the point of keeping them together right now? I'm like, they haven't even done the promos they were doing with them recently. Nothing with them. I'm like, Io went from being champion to barely being on TV at the moment, even as champion.
Yeah, I'll just quickly explain the spot you were talking there. It was a tag team spot. JC tagged in Gigi, and then went into almost like a roll-up pin on Zoe Stark, and Gigi just kind of stood off to the side awkwardly for a couple extra seconds, waiting for JC to get into the pin, and then as soon as JC released the pin, Gigi was there to kick Zoe. But yeah, the timing and the kind of the spot itself just looked awkward. Be cool if that's something they can work on to get their timing down on that spot, because I think it would look cool if you get the blind tag. Zoe doesn't realize Gigi is the legal woman. JC goes for the pin to try and, fake out that she's still legal, and then releases the pin just for Zoe to get smoked in the face. And then, yeah, the cuts on the Zoe, whatever move that was that Zoe hit. You had a camera from this angle, you had a camera then cut to that angle, and then a camera cut to that angle. And it was all within like 2 seconds, cut. And it was really confusing to look at.
The first one was fine though, because I'm like, I could see it from there. And then they changed it. I'm like, what happened? What did I miss? I had no idea whatsoever. I'm trying to figure it out, but then I'm trying to pay attention to the rest of the match as well. But I like how they're bringing Toxic Attraction to how they are now taking over the women's division. It's like, we're going for the tag team. We're going for the singles one too. We're going to take complete over this division. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, their personalities are really, really well done right now. The segments with Mandy and Raquel later on in the night, Mandy making it known that she thinks the belt will look good on her, and then this match as well. Ed, what did you think of the Toxic Attraction Io Zoe match?
Like Astrid, when we were doing the War Report before, it's one of these things where it's just, I can't wait for Zoe Stark and Io to not be a tag team anymore. I love Zoe Stark, but her and Io together is just absolute disaster. The match was fine. The match was really good. I was really, really hoping we got so close to having new champions. Toxic Attraction has been a great surprise for me. Putting Mandy Rose with them has been a genius idea. I never thought I wanted Mandy Rose as NXT Women's Champion, but now that the idea has been planted by them, I'm like, I could see that. Now, granted, beating Raquel, they're going to have to sell me on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because in-ring talent-wise, Mandy still has a little bit to go to get there. But that being said, I love a numbers game, and these three women are fantastic with the numbers game. I also like that Gigi Dolan and her Rose has become like a teasing taunt to everybody in the backstage area. She teased Raquel with it today, but last week she was teasing Mella with it. I'm like, I don't know what she's up to with that Rose, but I'm curious to see what continues to happen.
She's gonna start tuxedo masking people and just like throwing it across the ring at them.
Oh my god!
I dressed as tuxedo mask for Halloween one year. I'll be honest.
That is excellent. I appreciate that you can relate to the obscure reference I just threw out.
But I mean, yeah, it's just I loved how NXT made the ladies the focus of the night. And they tried really hard to make sure that all the women got plenty of time, with the exception of the main event. But all the other matches with the women in it got so much time to just let us see what we've got.
And just to point it out, I'm like, they have more matches than SmackDown has so far. How?
More matches, and I think more in-ring match time. Even though there's short matches, and there's short matches and more of them, but I feel like if we were to go and relate to this, I feel like we're still getting more in-ring time on NXT than we are on the top 2 shows.
This week we are, last week we didn't.
Yeah. As far as this match went for me, I really enjoyed it. I think all 4 women played their part well. I think as far as you guys kind of being ready for Io and Zoe to lose the titles and break up, I feel like it's just a lack of connection from the commentary side for me, because I've enjoyed what they're doing with it, how Zoe is clearly the weak link of the team, but even this week there was a little bit more of a step in the right direction towards them being a team, but Io still ends up getting the pin. Even though Zoe managed to hit her move and probably could have won it with that, Io ends up being the one to get the moonsault, get the pin, get the win. That they're playing that like odd couple where they can't get on the same page, but they're slowly just getting used to working with each other. I enjoy it. I like it. I would appreciate a lot more if Beth and Wade and Vic could focus and tell that story along with them. But this week was all about Toxic Attraction, and I felt like Beth and Wade spent a lot more time talking about Mandy and Toxic Attraction than they really did Io and Zoe at all.
Agreed.
Yeah. I guess since we're talking ladies and we've already mentioned it, let's jump ahead to the main event for now, the Frankie and Raquel match. Prior to it, we had the segment with Mandy coming by as Raquel's being interviewed backstage saying, you know, the title belt looks good on you. It'll look better on me. We had the match play out, a great match between Raquel and Frankie. Not even really any interference by Jesse or Robert outside. It ended up being pretty clean for Raquel at the end. And then Mandy and Toxic Attraction make their presence known after the match as well. I'll jump to you first on this one, Ed. Where did you stand on this main event as a whole?
I liked it. I could have used a couple more minutes with Frankie and Raquel. But when you added in the match before it, you kind of, you were just running out of time on the show. It's a really good match. It finally showed. We had a long discussion about this in the Discord, in the Slack chat between me, you, Spencer, and even some people have chimed in after the show about Frankie Monet and her push in NXT. You brought up the stat that she's only had 3 matches as a singles competitor, which were all enhancement matches to make her look good. And then she lost a tag team match since she came in, and she hasn't wrestled, I think you said, since July.
Yeah, July 20th, I think it was, if I remember Cage Match's stats properly there. That she joined Robert Stonebrand, had 1 match with Jessie Kamea that they lost, and hasn't wrestled since.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, Frank, it's impossible to deny the talent that is there. Like, Frankie Monet is a star talent. Whether they've pushed her right, pushed her wrong, it doesn't matter. She is a star in the making, and it's just a matter of time. I would love to see them make sure to I would have put the title on her tonight simply because I don't think that Mandy is technically ready to take the title off of Raquel Gonzalez. You've made her such a dominant champion that unless it's a numbers game, I don't see it. But Raquel has done a very, very, very good job carrying this title.
We haven't had a numbers game champion like that. I mean, Raquel had Dakota a little bit for a while, but that's just one person. We haven't had the real numbers game champion, I don't think, since Shayna brought in Jessamine Marina. Mm-hmm. And that was the last time, and that was a few years back now. So I would not be surprised to see them give Mandy that title. Mandy can clearly talk. She's got the look. She's got the muscle. She's got the raw talent is there. Mm-hmm. Giving her the title and putting her in those positions with the two other girls in her corner to help her get those wins, kind of like they did with Adam Cole off the bat, where I didn't think when Adam Cole first came in that he looked that great. He kept losing and could only win when he had Bobby and Kyle helping him out. We will only know when they announce it, Parrish. NXT Take Two over? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. But no, the numbers game is always a good way to go with a heel champion. That if you don't feel they're ready to win by their own merit, you can have them in that position where they're still improving in ring, but winning the matches due to somebody in their corner. And I think that's a good way to go with Mandy. I know KLR is somebody we've speculated as the person who may take that belt off Raquel, but KLR is still new enough to American audiences that I wouldn't be opposed to them letting KLR work some undercard feuds first before rushing her into that title scene, and have Kaylee Ray as the one to take it off of Mandy eventually. Or maybe don't even give Kaylee Ray a title run. Maybe Kaylee Ray is a big enough name that they decide they want her on a main roster this weekend.
Very possible.
That's somebody with what she's done in the UK, and now that she's made the commitment to come to America, I would not at all be surprised if we just see Kaylee Ray jump up to a Raw or SmackDown right now. Astrid, what about you? Main event speculation of Mandy as the champion. Go over all of it. We've talked about it a lot since we let you talk.
No, I was thinking the same thing as Ed. Like, the only way I'd see Mandy winning would be like a numbers game sort of thing, because the way they have carried Raquel so far, I don't see her winning Mandy like one-on-one without any help like that to make her look good, at least. And on top of it, I kept thinking, yeah, what about KLR? How do you like skip over her and not give her the the championship like that? So I'm like, if they make Mandy lose it to KLR, I feel like that will make Toxic Attraction lose some momentum they have gained so far. So it makes me wonder what route they're taking after that. And like your point about having KLR in the main roster, that would be cool. I'm like, we need some new faces over here. We've seen the girls face each other, especially on Raw, a little bit too much. So I wouldn't mind having her on Raw, to be honest. I'm like, they've been doing good with the women's matches, at least in the last couple, 2-3 weeks. So maybe it's a good timing to bring her up. I would like to see her, somebody like Charlotte, for example, with like it happened with Jutrap this past week.
I was just thinking the same thing, right? We were just talking yesterday of who's left for Charlotte. I know we're getting the draft. We're going to get some shuffle. We're going to get some new faces going for Charlotte. Kaylee Ray is somebody coming in and taking that title off of Charlotte as somebody new, somebody with a name, somebody who has that look and that ability to actually stand and hold their ground against a Charlotte. I would love to see Kaylee Ray come in and immediately just drop Charlotte for that title, or work her up to the point that she stomps over everybody else in the roster too, and we end up getting that showdown over a couple months of KLR and Charlotte going at each other. Mania match, Rumble match, somewhere in that time frame there, have a Kaylee Ray work her way to the title, or win the title right away and just hold on to it and carry it through till then. Either or. Kaylee Ray is somebody who is absolutely fantastic, a queen in her own rights in the UK, and seeing her go against the queen and be a true threat to the queen and not just somebody else to get stomped would be fantastic. Ed?
Yeah, I mean, there's no telling what we can do with Kaylee Ray when it comes to Kaylee Ray. She can be the anchor of this division, and you can send up talent like Frankie Monet. You can send up talent like Raquel Gonzalez and Io Shirai, and you can base this entire division around your Ember Moons and your Kaylee Ray, and build with Zoe Stark and Mandy Rose and all this young talent coming up. Or you can keep some of that talent and send Kaylee Ray to the main roster, and you can have matches with her and Bianca, her and Sasha, her and Bayley, her and Becky, her and Liv Morgan. Like, literally, I'm just listing off matches she can have because all of them would be fantastic. Because she can play heel, but she can, if you haven't watched her non-WWE work, especially non-WUK work, you don't know that she can play the babyface just as well as she can play the heel. And she's an incredibly good babyface. So, I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. I mean, Parrish brings up a good point. You have Mandy win the title in a triple threat match. Kaylee Ray takes out Raquel Gonzalez, and then Mandy scoops in the pin. I mean, there's any number of ways they can do this. The NXT women's division is so stacked that no matter what happens in the draft, there's no way it's left in bad hands.
Yeah. I know we touched on it earlier, so I'm going to kind of pivot off of the women's stuff for a moment now. Let's jump back after that opening match between BFAB and Elektra. I think we were all surprised to see Joe Gacy on our screen. There's been a lot of talk this week that the Joe Gacy character from last week was all mentions of him were pulled. People were offended. There was newspaper articles and stories all over the place about the woke Joe Gacy character, his safe spaces. He's there as someone who is just there to make a change, to find non-violent resolutions. Let's talk. Let's discuss. We can do this in a safe place. I'm here for the enlightened people. And he cut another promo very similar to that this week, and he played off of the fact that, you know, you thought you canceled me. No, you can't cancel me. I'm still here to stay. It was a pretty short promo. It was a lot of the same stuff he said last week, but it was definitely a surprise that we thought after the news came that all mention of him was pulled from WWE's platforms, that he was going to possibly be off TV for a couple weeks. We were getting a character change. So very stunning to see that Joe Gacy character come back this week and play it all as though it may be a shoot all along. Let's go to you, Ed, first. What were your thoughts on the Joe Gacy stuff?
So last week I was a little concerned. I wasn't sure where they were going with it. And I was like, I'm not so sure this is a good idea. Let's see what happens. Not because I think it's a bad gimmick or because I just think that it was going to get the kind of reaction that it got. That some of the media would take the character the wrong way. Because wrestling is built for stuff like this. These kind of characters are great in wrestling. Like Parrish says, he's like a one-man right to censor. When WWE used to be making fun of the parent groups, it said that WWE was too sexy and too edgy and too everything else. Mind you, we're getting all those comments about it being sexy and edgy again after the whole night we just had and the commercial we had, especially with Dexter holding up a whole bunch of condoms, looking down at Indy and then looking over at Johnny. But back to Joe Gacy. It was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, this guy, he's selling the gimmick. The fact that he made me question to the two of you in our Slack chat, was this a work the whole time? And that they got their friends in the media to play along so they could pull it, so that he could go, no, I'm uncancelable. You can't cancel me. It's great because it's going to have its defenders and it's going to have its people that hate it, and it's going to be okay. I'm just glad to see that they're at least giving it a shot, a true chance, and that they're not just caving into, you know, Cody, I'm going to say something that we mentioned in the Slack chat again. You had posted last week a gimmick about, you know, you had posted like a meme thing. Nikki Cross does Nikki ASH. Fans hate it, find out it's her idea. We give it a shot. Jungle Jim, as we've now found out is Shane Thorne's new name, where I've already come out and said I didn't think it was a good idea. And the minute I heard it was his idea from his own Twitter, he's like, no, this is my idea. I'm taking Nikki's advice. I'm giving something that I want to do a chance. I'm like, fine. As long as he's coming up with this and he's the one behind it, I'm willing to let the cultural insensitivity of the gimmick be. Because he's the one in the culture. Like, if he wants to offend people, that's his own kind of right to do it. It's not super offensive. It's just bad stereotype. So, fine, we give it a chance. And then you have the last one where you have Joe Gacy, and it's like, critics hate it. WWE pulls every mention of it. But it's true. That's what we all thought was happening, and I'm so glad to see that it's not. I'm so glad to see it all seems like it's a work, and this guy's totally in for it.
Yeah. I was just as guilty last week when it first came out that I said it on last week's show even. You know, I'm not entirely against them running the gimmick. I'm concerned that they're running it as a heel gimmick, but the way they just played us all over the past week with the media articles and working us throughout the entire week and running with it this week, I definitely appreciate being worked that hard. Again, like you say, a tip of my hat to them. As far as Joe Gacy himself goes, I think the guy has a great look. What we saw of him last week with Cameron Grimes, I think he has a lot of ability to work in that ring in a style that we don't see very often. So I'm really excited to see him run with this because I think he's really doing a great job selling the character. Astrid, jump to you now.
I was just expecting him to be like a totally different person this That was my first thing. I was like, okay, are we gonna get the same person we got last week? Let's see how this goes. Does he get a new name, a new look, a new everything? I don't know how I feel about the promo yet. I'm just still like processing it, so I'm still in that stage with that promo. I'm not saying the promo was bad. I'm like, the way he delivered it, I loved it. Well done. But the promo itself, I'm just like, I'm still in the process of. I'm still processing it. So we'll see how I feel next week, maybe. But I don't know how I feel about it yet.
That's fair. That's fair. No, it's might not be everybody's cup of tea, and you're welcome to that. That's what we're here. We're here to discuss it. We're here to have opposing opinions, right? So, you want to go a little bit further? What it is that may be standing out for you about it?
I feel like I can't even point it out. I feel like I can't even explain it. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I just like I'm still trying to like maybe I'll replay it later and trying to see how it goes. But I did like how he pointed at that part of like you thought you canceled me and like thinking back of like all the articles that we saw. I'm like, yeah, that was a good reference to what was happening. So maybe like think about that as well. But yeah, I'm still like I don't know.
I love the idea that somebody's taking the fact that you're going to be a professional wrestler and that you're going to treat the ring, the most, combative place in all of wrestling, as your safe space, and that you're going to resolve conflicts with words as opposed to with actions. It's the epitome. It's the exact opposite of what wrestling is. And I love the fact that there's a character who's trying to do that. Now, granted, is it my cup of tea that I don't feel the same way as him? But I like that there's a character out there to do it. As long as they treat it carefully, like they have with Legado del Fantasma, like they have with Hit Row, where they've treated the ideas of these characters in those places, those cultures, with respect. We have to make sure that we're careful about how we portray Joe Gacy and whom we put him up against, to make sure that we don't go too far over a line that we can't come back from.
Yeah. Just a thought that came to me now. If we want to go full one-man right to censor, as Chris Parrish is suggesting in our comments, just picture, if you will, we end up getting the War Games match coming up between Hit Row and Legado del Fantasma. And halfway through that match, we get Joe Gacy coming running around the War Games, screaming at people to leave and go away and not watch this.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh my god.
Now when it doesn't happen, I'm going to be sad.
I was going to say, now I can't unsee it. So now it doesn't happen. I feel so weird.
Do you guys have anything else you wanted to kind of pinpoint here from the show? Do you want to focus on anything else particular? Or I could just jump from segment to segment through the rest of the show?
I think you could just jump from segment to segment. There was nothing else that was enormously important.
So we had kind of a brief match between Oni Lorcan and Zion Quinn. Zion was the one we saw last week. I believe he was the one that was holding the door in that segment for those ladies, right?
No, that was Dante. What's his name? Dante Chen.
Okay.
No, that wasn't Dante.
Oh. Well, that wasn't Dante from last week? I thought that was Dante last week. Okay.
No,
Nope.
I'm pretty sure that Beth and Wade were talking about it, that Zion was the one that held the door and was the gentleman for the ladies. And
okay, now everything makes more sense.
yeah.
I got last week all confused then.
A relatively brief match. It was nice to see Oni Lorcan back on our screens again after kind of the turn from Dunn and Holland on him. Yes.
That's not a bad idea.
That's also a good idea if Joe Gacy is just the reason we don't get a War Games this year. I'll take it. Oni Lorcan on my screen, always appreciated. Oni is a hard worker. He is absolutely a workhorse, just like a Roddy Strong, that he gives his all in that ring every time. Fully expecting him and Danny Burch to be called up on either Friday or Monday during the draft. I think those guys have done all they can do in NXT. If they do, it's always a good thing to see Oni putting somebody else over, going out on his back and putting Zion Quinn in that position to move ahead on his way out and up. Anything you guys had any thoughts about this match, Astrid?
I mean, it was a nice match. We'll see how it goes with the next one. It just made me laugh how all of us thought it was one of the Usos, the cousin, the Fatu that was debuting because of the music. And I'm like, now when I hear the music, I can't forget about it. Sorry.
Yeah, it definitely sounded very Uso-ish. I know we had the conversation in the chat. I jumped in. I was like, Nuso! And then I was like, wait, no, that's not actually the third Uso, is it?
No, it's not. Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, it was a fun, quick little match. Zion Quinn is getting some play. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. As a Bostonian, I can't look at Oney Lorcan and not think Biff Busick. So I always think of Biff when I look at Oney Lorcan, which was his indie name. But the dude's fantastic, and much love to him. Hopefully on a new brand next week.
Yeah. We also got a couple of talk segments, or a hype segment and a talk segment. Braun Breaker in a hype talking about how he's here to be champion. He's not a patient man. He's going to be NXT champion. Basically calling out Ciampa. Went to a break, came back, and had Ciampa responding via FaceTime, saying it took him 908 days to win back Goldie, and he's not going to lose it so easily. Not a lot here, enough to kind of keep both guys relevant with them not being on TV as much. Before we jump to that, Dunn, Lorcan, and Birch all called up against Bloodline or New Day would be fantastic. Throw Hurt Business in there as well as a possible option. Any of those options. Put Dunn right in a world title picture right away, and I'll be happy, man.
The only thing I want to say about this is you're going to have to do some real good mental gymnastics to make anybody who watches NXT forget that Dunn turned on Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch less than a month ago.
Yes, but I mean, they tried to convince us that what Cross had been doing in NXT didn't matter, so.
That's true. And they also had Johnny and Tommaso as a tag team in the midst of one of the greatest feuds in NXT history.
Yeah. But back to the quick kind of segments and talking between Breaker and Ciampa. We'll go to you first, Astrid. Is this a match you want to see happen? Did you enjoy kind of what they did with these guys? Where do you think you want this to go?
Yeah, look at the impact that Breaker has had since he debuted already. Can you imagine him as champion? I've seen so many people still talking about him ever since his debut. So I cannot imagine how many people are going to be talking about him if he wins. So yeah, I can't wait to see how it goes with him. I would like to see him have that for a good feud with Ciampa and something lengthy, nothing short either. I want all of it, please.
Ed, what about you? What did you think of the kind of tease here between these two?
I mean, I love Braun Breaker. This dude is totally getting over with me. Just gonna throw this one in for Parrish. I spelled it wrong.
Draft one. Okay, yeah, we had a fantasy draft.
We did. We had a draft. But no, Braun Breaker is absolutely fantastic. I mean, he's gonna get murdered by Ciampa, which is fine. I love the idea of this guy being a big, huge star and then getting taken down a peg or two and, having a 10-minute match. It doesn't have to be a 15, 20-minute classic. Give this guy 7 to 10 minutes and teach him a lesson where Ciampa's just no, you're not ready for this. You're a big guy, you're a strong guy, you're great, but you're not ready for this level. And kind of teach him a lesson. I think that'd be a really fun little thing for Breaker's story. But this dude's a stud. He talks I can't get over it. He looks and wrestles like his father, and he talks like his uncle, and that's the absolute perfect mix. That promo package tonight from him was fantastic.
So during that promo package from Braun tonight, I had a thought of where I feel like this NXT 2.0 is right now after 3 weeks of seeing all of these new kids come in. I will get to you in a minute, Parrish, once I finish my train of thought here, that this NXT with Braun Breaker, with Von Wagner, with Carmelo Hayes, Odyssey Jones, Austin Chase, you got Briggs and Jensen in the tag division. To me, this feels like we are approaching a level where we can honestly compare this to the Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton FCW days in terms of the talent and the promise that all of these guys are showing on what they can be and where they can go. I know Parrish mentioned earlier talking about the other guy that is supposed to be Brock Lesnar light. I'm getting very Brock Lesnar vibes just from the character Braun Breaker is playing right now, that he is playing it up to a very, very close proximity to early 2000s next big thing, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. I can't disagree with anything you just said.
Yeah, me neither.
And as far as I'm concerned, comparing this group that 2 weeks ago we had no idea who any of these guys were to that group, which is considered one of the greatest developmental groups in the history of WWE, there's a lot of promise for the future. I mean, we're still early on. It's very possible that they could all get ruined as they come up through the system, but if done right, and if WWE does with them what they say they want to in developing their own stars instead of bringing indie guys in to be, you know, just brought in as their old characters or be repackaged as something WWE acceptable. If they develop these guys up and carry their character work all the way up to the main roster as guys that the main roster fans aren't familiar with, but develop them along the way, we're in for a very, very bright future for WWE as a whole, seeing these guys come up and grow and become the next top guys. Let's jump back to that comment from Parrish now. What if Carmelo Hayes is the reason Braun Breaker doesn't win the title from Champion? I mean, it's fair. What if Trick Williams is the one? What if Trick decides to insert himself on Carmelo's behalf so that Carmelo doesn't end up being a straight up heel for it? Trick's the heel, and Carmelo can still play up like, yo, bro, why'd you do that? Up until the point that he accepts it and is like, yeah, I told Trick to do that. Ha, got you. Any other thoughts that you guys want to give on what I just expunged out of my mouth there?
No, I mean, you said it the best way it could possibly be said. I mean, that class is the holy grail of wrestling. I'm sorry.
You can't see the thumbs up.
Fucking thumbs up got me. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the holy grail of draft classes. That amazing class of 04. And I mean, hell, most of that class is still wrestling currently. Like, most of that class that you listed wrestled within the past 6 weeks.
Yeah, SummerSlam, all three of them were on it, right?
Yeah, but I mean, Shelton was still there. Batista, I think, is the only one in that class that's not like Enrico. Yeah, Batista and Rico, I think, are the only two in that class that aren't still wrestling.
And Rico, I would say, is, to be fair, probably the weakest of that entire class.
Which is funny because he's widely considered to be the star of that class.
Yeah. We'll jump ahead. We had a fairly brief match where Tian Sha, Boa came out with Mei Ling. Mei Ling actually got out of her chair and walked down the ramp again this time, fighting Andre Chase. Shout out to Andre Chase for fighting in a collared shirt and a sweater. They even took the time on commentary that Wade made a comment about like how it basically shows how skilled he is that he can wrestle in a sweater. Boa ends up going over when Mei Ling blows smoke or mist or something in Andre Chase's face. Later on, I'll get to it where we have Andre Chase basically throwing another tantrum backstage about being disqualified in this match. Still not sold on Tian Sha myself. I think there's potential, there's promise there for Mei Ling for sure. And I mean, Boa is kind of up and down and all over the place. Ed, thoughts?
You know, it's without Xia Li, this whole thing is a lot more of a passing fancy for me. I think Xia Li and Mei Ying are the staples of this, and poor Boa, like he's the first star from China. They really want to make him a big deal. He's fine. He's broadly fine, but he does nothing for me. I liked it that the thing that I took the most pride in today with watching Andre Chase wrestle is I finally figured out what the gimmick is about. The gimmick is mimicking Bobby Knight, the former head coach of the men's college basketball team from Indiana, which is why he wears the red. The sweater is because Bobby Knight always used to coach in a sweater. And the reason why he likes the chair so much, and we've seen the chairs in all these segments, is because of the fact that Bobby Knight is famous for taking a chair and having an argument with a ref where he threw the chair across the court. So that's why the chair plays so much in all of these things. He was famous for his blow-ups on the sidelines and for getting ejected from games. He's an all-time great college coach, and it's just I couldn't believe it took me so long to figure it out who it was.
Astrid?
Every time I see them, it makes me Xia. Like I feel it's not the same without her. So at this point, I'm just like, what's the point of them without her in there? And I know I wonder about her injury status and what's going on with her. What we haven't seen her either. But I feel like at this point, it doesn't do anything for me without her in there. So I'm just like, what's gonna happen next with them? Because how are they gonna end this without her in there? I really don't know.
I mean, my thought is maybe we get Xia coming back and attacking Mei Ying. Or Mei Ling. I always forget if it's Ying or Ling.
Ying.
Okay. But I mean, as far as I remember, she was basically excommunicated from the group after she lost her title match against Raquel. So maybe it's something where Boa and Mei work their way up to a point where Xia is ready to return and Xia ends up coming back and feuding with Mei. I'd be okay with that. I don't know. Boa, I don't see a lot of potential for Boa at this point. Mei definitely has kind of the character, the stoic, dangerous, goth, witch, sorceress, whatever she's supposed to be going on. I appreciate the character work. Her ring work, when we saw her wrestle, looked like it had a lot to that it could offer. So it is what it is. Andre Chase, though, I think Chase was really the star of this match, even though we lost it. I think we're really growing Chase as a character who could be somebody like a Miz down the line. Mm-hmm. That's all I really have about that one. And then we'll jump ahead then to where we see him next. We have LA Knight being interviewed backstage about the interactions he's had with Odyssey Jones, basically calling out like he ain't no punk, and next week he's going to show Odyssey the same thing. You have Odyssey show up and kind of confront him, and then Andre Chase comes storming through, throwing chairs, having a temper tantrum, which is enough to distract Odyssey for LA Knight to leave Odyssey laying, as he said, the same way he's going to next week. Anything about this segment, Astrid?
I mean, it was fine with me, but I'm glad it was an introduction to giving us the match next week. So I want to see how Odyssey goes with LA Knight as well. So I kind of want to see that mix up in the ring with them.
Yeah, Odyssey Jones is one of those guys who he needs that great match. He hasn't had it yet. LA Knight should hopefully be able to give us a better look at Odyssey Jones in the ring. I like how Odyssey got distracted by Andre Chase, considering they had something going on last week. There's a lot of little ties headed in here. It's nice that everything keeps kind of... There was a lot of ships passing in the night kind of thing tonight.
I very much appreciate kind of this subtle storytelling with Odyssey and Austin, playing back to the loss in the breakout tournament. Austin throwing his tantrum last week when his student questioned him about losing to Odyssey. Now he comes through and distracts Odyssey, getting Odyssey beat up. The interaction at the Index wedding. Just those two guys keep kind of crossing paths here. And I think, Odyssey has his own thing going on. Austin has his own thing going on. But we're eventually going to get that blow off between these two men. And it'll be fun when it happens. Just I enjoy subtle storytelling like this.
Yeah, they're telling a small story. And they're not shoving things down our throat. They're letting us kind of, like, the people who see it. And everybody else is like, look, we'll tell you the story when it's good and when we're good and ready. But for everybody else, it's like, hey, look, here's a little nugget for you. We haven't forgotten. This thing is still being told. Because WWE is so often, the one thing you can criticize WWE for is they start telling a story and then drop it completely. And in this one, it's like Odyssey Jones is doing something completely different with LA Knight right now. But look, we haven't forgotten about Andre Chase.
Yeah, we got those seats in there for later.
We got the seats?
Yeah, like they're building the seat with the plan for that.
The seeds. I thought I heard seats, and I was thinking Austin was throwing these chairs for later.
Andre.
Right.
Keep saying Austin.
I do keep saying Austin. I think Austin Chase sounds better, but maybe
I'm
combining him and Austin Theory.
God, could you imagine if Andre Chase had the... Oh my God, now I want that. I want Austin Theory to do Andre Chase now.
What we keep doing this to each other, throwing ideas we're not going to be able to see.
I'm going to combine the next two segments because the first one was really short and then the next one was better. We had backstage Trey Baxter and Cora Jade being interviewed, promoting that Cora Jade is going to have her first match next week. or her first official match, as I determined. She has had enhancement matches where we didn't realize it was her before. I do love that during this, Beth Phoenix calls out Wade Barrett when he's disgusted by Trey Baxter and Cora Jade having a kiss on screen, and Barrett's like, "Oh," and Beth is like, "What? Who hurt you?" And then we jump right into Lash Legend and the Lashing Out segment, which, as you guys have called it, is very Wendy Williams-esque. I'll let you guys divulge a little further into that. During the segment, we have her basically saying that Cora Jade needs to get herself a real man rather than a Trey Baxter, and then puts up a photo of Ikemen Hero saying that that's what a real man looks like.
I can attest Ikemen is when I think of men, I think of Ikemen Jiro, so that's fine.
And then she awards Andre Chase with the Lash Out of the Week for his fit that he threw last week in the classroom, and makes a comment. I didn't catch the entirety of the comment, but she made some kind of comment along the lines of if he ever did that around her, she'd put him down. Did either of you catch what she said there?
No.
I don't remember the exact words, but it was something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Give you the stage on this one, Astrid. The Cora and Trey stuff and the Lashing Out stuff. Anything you enjoyed? Anything that caught your attention?
Yeah, I like Cora and Trey together. I feel like I don't remember last time we got something like that between like a real life couple, aside from like obviously Gargano and Candice, but like a real life couple being shown on screen like that. So it's really interesting to see how it plays out for them. For the part with Lashing Out, the moment I saw it, I kept thinking, I'm like, this reminds me of something, of somebody. And then I saw the setup and the way she was moving towards the screen like this. And I was like, oh my God, this is Wendy Williams. And I'm like, the way she's sitting, the chair, the positioning of the chair, the way she looks at the screen behind her, the way she did, and the way she talks to the crowd that was there for the pre-recorded segment. I was like, yeah, this is Wendy Williams.
Ed?
I mean, I'm familiar enough with Wendy Williams to know who she is. I'm not a huge connoisseur of her work. It's a little for me. That being said, I know that it's incredibly popular with a lot of people, so I think this is going to be a hit. I like it because it's something that we've never seen, let alone in WWE, in NXT, WWE, anything. Like, there's nobody on either roster that could pull off the segment the way she did, like basically ripping off Wendy Williams and doing it. Because it doesn't feel like a rip-off. It feels like she's kind of paying homage and tribute. But I felt a lot better afterwards than I did going in, because I'm like, oh God, NXT's never had a talk show segment. We don't need one of these. But after having seen it, I'm like, cool, we can do this, a cool 3-minute segment once every week, once every other week, with her kind of just sort of running down the roster. This could be fun.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit, if you ever watched when 2.0 had their show on NXT, it was a little bit of that, of them just kind of running down the roster. I know Street Profits have had some of those backstage segments where they run down the show or stuff like that occasionally. New Day's done it on the main roster a few times, but never in a pre-recorded sit-down style like this. I was also very hesitant when we heard it announced last week, like, oh God, are we going to have like a Miz TV or a Jericho talk show or Talk is Jericho or something like that coming on here? And I didn't want to see that on NXT, but something like this, like a one person talking to the screen, I can go with it. I can roll with it. It was fun. It was a short enough segment. It was, pointing out something that had just happened, but also calling out something from last week. And then there was this parts where she was pushing herself as a basketball star in her WNBA draft and stuff like that. So kind of building herself out, calling out Cora, calling out Chase. It served a purpose, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I guess, before we jump to the final part that I want to talk about, we'll briefly mention we did get another Tony D'Angelo promo, or Tony Soprano D'Angelo, as Ed likes to call him, confirming that it was more of the same, more kind of mobster, wise guys talk about his family and basically talking about hits that were performed and picking up random shipments from the shipping docks that his family took home and being just a straight up wise guy, Godfather style. But we did get confirmation that he does arrive in NXT next week likely for his first match, or at least his first in-ring segment. So excited to see Tony D'Angelo get onto our screens in a non-pre-taped style and see where he can go from there. It was really brief, really short, more of the same. Anything you guys wanted to touch on before we move through it?
I wanted to bring up something because I'll admit I've been a little down on the character and I've been joking about it, but you brought up something really interesting in the chat when we were talking about this. You're like, why is Tony D'Angelo any different than a Santos Escobar? You know, with Tony D'Angelo being like a Tony Soprano or a mobster gimmick, whereas Santos Escobar is essentially Pablo Escobar. And you're right. I never thought of putting the two characters together, because I've always seen Santos as something like, yeah, he's essentially Pablo Escobar. But for some reason, I never felt the drug gangster feeling, whereas Tony D'Angelo is leaning like super hard into everything is the Tony's. I think that for me, that was the only difference in the two gimmicks to me. But you're completely right. There's nothing different between the two of them. As long as he can bring this into his ring style, and then hopefully start a faction. Like, I would love it if he starts getting a family.
Yeah.
Like, that would be great if it's like La Familia or something like that. Just like, I honestly don't know. I think that's the Italian word for family. I feel bad that I don't. I'm like, I know it's the word in Spanish, but I'm like, I think it's the same.
Similar. It's similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't think of it off the top of my head. I should know it. My Italian's a little rusty, but yeah, it's something similar. Italian and Spanish are fairly close.
Yeah, but it's like just like getting like a small group, even if they're enhancement talent, like getting guys that he can bring up and kind of just, you know, mentor along the way. Like Santos Escobar has two guys that nobody cared about in Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde, and now they're solidified in a tag team division solely because they're part of Legado del Fantasma.
Same with Swerve, bringing in Top Dollar and Andre
and yeah,
Ashanti Adonis. Again, two guys who you'd never seen before Top Dollar showed up in his match and helped him win the NA title. And then suddenly they're now a tag team that I want to see going on. And, you know, I would love to see both Legado and Hit Row in that tag team scene with MSK. But everybody on here knows, I think, that I'm such a big fan of the New Japan style, and I love the faction system in Japan, that I'm all on board if we just keep building factions in NXT. We've got Diamond Mine, we've got Legado, we've got Hit Row. I mean, you've got Dunn and Holland were there. You've got other places that you can start growing factions as well. And yeah, Familia for the Italian faction, something like that, or anything Godfather-esque, really, you could put in there and let him run with that as another faction, and just really run a faction system through the NXT brand and possibly have all of these factions show up on the main rosters at different times. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder though about how he'll wrestle being in that gimmick next week. That's what what I'm curious about the most. And who are they going to put against him as well? Because I'm like, is it going to be somebody like a veteran to show him off a little bit? Or is it going to be one of those like squash matches that we had the past like 2 weeks or so?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would like to see it be somebody more known, similar to what we got this week with Zion taking on an Oni. Someone in that kind of role, you know, a Danny Burch going in there, or anyone in that role as someone we know, we recognize has been around for a while, but, you know, won't really be hurt too much by taking a loss. I don't know who else they have for kind of smaller enhancement talent for him to just come in and just beat up on, but I mean, that would be more the heel style of doing things if we're really building a heel character here.
I'm going to throw one out there. Drake Maverick.
Yeah.
I mean, is he technically still in NXT? Because I know he's been showing up in the 24/7.
I mean, he showed up in the wedding stuff, so I mean, he's around at least. I'm okay with them having Drake on every show. I won't complain about Drake.
Oh no, no complaints here. I'm just wondering.
We can move on from Tony now, I think, though. And the last thing we haven't touched on yet was actually one of my favorite parts of the show that we kind of glossed over to begin with, but it's a good way to end out the show here. Was we get Ridge Holland making his entrance, which I've applauded before as being just a stunning entrance, the way they fade to him in the smoke coming in the bright lights there. But he gets jumped from behind by Kyle O'Reilly. And they cut to commercial as Holland, Dunn, and Riley are all fighting in the entrance ramp. Come back to find out that Holland and O'Reilly are having a match. Dunn, I guess, has been sent back to the backstage area. He's no longer at ringside. We get a pretty good, solid match between the two guys. O'Reilly and Holland both put a lot on the table here. They wrestled hard. During this match, we're all looking at the time, I think, and wondering, how short is Raquel and Frankie going to end up being cut? Because these guys came out at about 20 to the hour and put on a good 8-10 minute match. Ending with Dunn coming out to try and get the distraction on O'Reilly. O'Reilly gets the roll-up pin on Holland to upset. Holland immediately bounces back up, and the assault is on. We get Holland and Dunn beating down Kyle O'Reilly. And in a flashback to that match 2 weeks ago, where O'Reilly was cost his spot in the Fatal 4-Way by Dunn and Holland, we get Von Wagner coming out to make the save for Kyle O'Reilly, setting up a 2v2 showdown as Wagner and O'Reilly chase off Holland and Dunn. I really enjoyed this match. I really enjoyed what O'Reilly and Holland did. I think Holland definitely has a lot of growth potential in this company. I think he's somebody else maybe that's a little overshadowed by all of the new names that have showed up in 2.0 since he's been around a little bit longer, but he's definitely got a lot of potential to be a big guy and a big part of this brand moving forward. Astrid, we'll start with you. Thoughts on the match, thoughts on the post-match stuff?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the match. It made me wonder if maybe next week we get Von versus Pete, maybe to like cross it off a little bit between them. That's the part that I'm like, I really would like to see that one as well. But yeah, this is one of those matches that I don't mind seeing it, and I would love to see it again. I don't mind how many times I see it, to be honest, because it's that good between them.
Ed?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the only reason why I didn't want this match was because it was taking away from the time that we were going to give to Raquel versus Frankie. That's the only downside to having this match in the place that it was on, is that it was obviously the only thing that was taking away from time from the women in the main event. Because you did such a great job all night of giving the women time and spotlighting the women. And then in the main event you didn't take away a lot of time, but you took away just enough that it could have been that little bit of an extra gear. That being said, I love how Kyle O'Reilly last week was said that he was medically not cleared to wrestle at all whatsoever, and then attacks Ridge Holland, and then this week is apparently must be cleared to wrestle, even though he was going to be out for weeks last week, according to Regal. So, yay for continuity.
I mean, Kyle O'Reilly just doing whatever Kyle O'Reilly feels like, right?
He's cool Kyle for a reason.
He's like, medical clear me or not, I'm still going out and beating down this Brit.
That being said, it's great to see him in these knockdown drag-out things. He's helping make a name for these younger stars. I love how in the Slack chat we were going through and we're like, yeah, we need to see it was Von Wagner and one other person, and we ended up seeing them both.
Tony. It was Tony, wasn't it?
It was Tony, and we got to see both of them shortly after that comment. So I love how we would say things in the chat and then all of a sudden they would happen live on the air.
Yet again, NXT Kevin Dunn is monitoring our Slack chat.
I don't know who's selling the information because I'm not, so it's one of you two.
I mean, you're the one down there in Florida, right?
No.
Yeah, that was the show. Overall, it was a lot more spread out. I thought there was a lot more time to breathe, at least through the first hour and a half. Between the stuff at the end there with the Holland O'Reilly match, the Frankie Raquel match, the Soprano D'Angelo promo, it definitely felt like they tried to cram quite a bit into that last half hour after having a fairly spread out first hour and a half, which is a little backwards of how we've been running. Last couple weeks, we've said, like, holy crap, it's an hour. Like, how has it only been an hour with all of what we've just seen? Whereas today we got to the end of that first hour and we're like, not as much has happened. It's all been good stuff that happened. We enjoyed every bit of it, I think, but it wasn't as much packed into that first hour that it actually felt like an hour's worth of content, which was a nice, refreshing breather to it. Overall thoughts on the show, Ed?
Overall, like you just said, I loved how this week it didn't feel like they were shoving 3 weeks worth of content into one show. Everything got time to breathe. Everything felt like it had the time that it needed to have. Nobody on the show felt rushed. And all the stuff was good. There was nothing bad on this show at all. I would say this is the best NXT show we've seen in weeks, and not maybe months. Like there was not a bad segment on this entire show.
Yeah, Astrid.
Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm like, oh, I'm all about having the women on the card. So having all these women's matches is something that I love to see, and it's incredible to think that they're having more matches that even SmackDown had had, like between timing and everything, which is the interesting part. But yeah, I've loved every part of it. I wonder if next week we're gonna get a tag team week, because this is ladies' night. So, but yeah, I like the theming of it though. But it was really interesting. It was good.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate you guys letting me take the lead chair this week. I know I ran us a little bit longer than we typically do here, but I think it was fun. We talked a lot about a lot of different stuff on the show and jumped around a lot, but covered everything off. I think we are good to close out here now. Ed, do you want to plug where we can find you?
Sure. Let me just... my microphone's in the way of the camera stuff here. This week, you can find me on Quizplex this Thursday at 9 p.m. I'll be taking on Josiah and some of the other former champions of Quizplex as we do our Champions Edition. There may be 3, there may be 4 of us on this show. So come root me to victory as I hopefully get to be a 2-time Quizplex champion. And then you can find me back here next Tuesday night as we do another episode of NXT. I don't know if I'm going to be on the Saturday show, but you can always catch all of us on, our Saturday Reacts or our Sunday brunch, all kinds of good content. I know Cody's going to talk about my next favorite show that's coming up the rest of this week, so I'll let him talk about that when it gets to him. Astrid?
Well, when I'm not here spilling the tea with these guys, I usually do in Saturday Reacts as well. And next week on Tuesday, when I'm not here, sometimes I'm on WrestlePlug, doing a guest star every now and then. If not, I'll be on my Twitter tweeting about whatever I'm watching when it comes to wrestling that week.
As for me, you can catch me on Twitter, always, right down here, at Cody Defoe. I talk all things wrestling on there. I might talk other things as well, but a lot of my content is usually wrestling-based. As far as streams, you can catch me this Friday night, immediately following Rampage. I will be right here on the Love Wrestling on all of our mediums, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. We will be joined by Matt and Mel once again, discussing all things NJPW G1 Climax. We've had one show so far over the weekend, but we got 3 shows over the next 3 nights of G1 happening. We will be back here to break down all 4 nights of G1 action, as well as look ahead at what's coming up in the following week in the card. I will not be back here for NXT next week. Unfortunately, I have other obligations that will take me off site. Astrid and Ed will be back here breaking down all of the NXT action with likely a guest host joining them to take my place for a week, but I will be back here in 2 more weeks. Keep an eye on the Love Wrestling Twitch channel. If you haven't already, we got a couple days left in September. Get those subscriptions in place. You will be able to watch the live stream of Love Wrestling Presents Force Pro Wrestling's Change the Game in Edmonton, October 15th from Edmonton South Rec Room. Wonderful card coming together. I believe by the end of this week, we're supposed to have the full card announced on all of our major social media platforms. If you're in the Edmonton area, get down to the Rec Room in South Common, support your local wrestling. We have some great special guest wrestlers coming in and some amazing local wrestlers who always do great things in the Edmonton scene. If you can't make it out, if you're not in the Edmonton area or you're not able to make it out on that day, make sure you have that Twitch subscription in place because we will be live streaming all of the action Twitch exclusively for our subscribers.
No, just so we know, as long as you have a Twitch membership, you'll be able to watch the show. You'll be able to chat along with the show with your Twitch for subscribers only.
There you go.
Sorry, just wanted to make sure.
That's okay. We'll throw that in there. Just before we move on as well, we'll jump one more time back to our wonderful sponsor, the wonderful Rich King and RK Athletics. Always doing great things, helping out the Love Wrestling team and all of our shows, all of our content here at RK Athletics 1 on all social media platforms. Give them a follow, give them a like. Check them out for all of your athletic fitness needs. Wonderful guy in the local wrestling scene and the local fitness scene. once again, at RK Athletics 1.
And just before we go, I just want to make sure we reiterate one programming note, because tomorrow we have a special showcase where we're hoping that Spencer Love is going to join our Between Two Beards brothers. Honestly, I'm kind of just promoting it just to see if me and Cody can get a new slot on Thursday night. But yeah, no, Between Two Beards is doing a watch along after Dynamite of Cool Runnings. So you'll have to have your own Disney Plus subscription, but we're gonna all hit play at the same time, so we can all watch and talk Cool Runnings as we go. So that'll be happening tomorrow night, shortly after 10 o'clock, after Dynamite ends.
That'll be a wonderful time. And if our wonderful boss, Mr. Spenny Love, does not join the stream, we may be seeing Between Two Stubble with myself and Ed on Thursday night. Keep your eyes peeled on the Love Wrestling social media handles as well. If you don't already, you can follow us at all of the major handles. We've got Facebook.com/LoveWrestlingCA, Twitch.tv/LoveWrestlingCA, YouTube.com/LoveWrestlingCA. Check out LoveWrestling.ca/shop. You can get some wonderful merch. We've got fanny packs, we've got stickers, we've got t-shirts. I'm not sure if we have hats yet, but we've got a lot coming on. If you enjoy this or any of our other content, rate this podcast.com/LoveWrestlingCA. Give us a rating on there. We appreciate all of the positive feedback, trying to build us up as one of the top wrestling rated podcasts in Canada. And that's all. That's it. If you've got us on the social media, there may be a special announcement of a live watch along coming soon. We're waiting to see if Between Two Beards blows too much budget or they can fit us in. Mm-hmm. So keep your eyes peeled there for any kind of promotion coming up if we can get some live watch-alongs of some wrestling for you. For Ed, for the natural Astrid, I'm Cody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.